And what I want to talk to you about today is how can we transform what the human experience is? How do we improve what your day-to-day life feels like? How do we do that? How do we improve what every moment feels like? And it might sound like a bit of a strange question, but actually that's a question that your mind is asking all the time. All the time your mind is thinking, how do I improve this situation? So, in this session you'll see me go through a lot of questions because I want to open it up to you. I want you to think. The first question I'm going to ask you, why don't animals need to do any meditation? All right, same arms, same legs, walk around, still need to sleep and eat and protect ourselves from danger and all those things. What human beings are capable of doing is we're able to make complex things, complex ideas, complex buildings, designs. And what is it that allows us to do that? We've already said, one or two people have mentioned it. What is it that allows the human being to do that, that doesn't allow the animal to do that? It is our brain, our mind. So the key difference between a human being is that, between the human being and the animal, is the mind. Can somebody give me a definition of the mind? Okay, how many of us don't have a mind? Yeah, a couple of hands? No? Okay. We all have a mind. So what is the mind? Give me a definition. Chain of thoughts. Interesting. So the 4 subdivisions within the Indian tradition of Sorath, Mat, Man and Budh, we can go into what those mean as well.
Past, present and future.
Oh, past, present and future. So our mind has the ability to comprehend past and future. Animals don't necessarily think about future or worry about the past, or even they probably have a memory, maybe they don't. Do you see, this is not complicated. Well, how many times do we even get an opportunity to think about these things? We don't really even think about these things. And yet, for those of us that come from the tradition that follows Guru Granth Sahib Ji, the word mind appears everywhere. Man appears all the time. Gurbani seems to talk about your mind more than most other concepts. But we don't really comprehend what this is. So I simplify the definition of the mind, as some of you have said, as a collection of thoughts. A whirlpool of thoughts that are just going on all the time. What is the key thing that is needed for thoughts is words. Right? Keep hold of this word because you're going to need to understand this as we go on. Words is what is going on in your... Because we can say a thought. Well, what is a thought? A thought is a collection of either images or, more likely, is a story going on in our mind. There's words going on all the time. There's a language of the mind all the time. So the one thing that differentiates us from animals, as far as we know, and I take your point, as far as we know, is our mind is constantly telling a story. All the time our mind is saying something. Even now, in reality, none of you are listening to me. In reality, you're all listening to your mind's interpretation of what I'm saying. Whatever I'm saying, it's going through the filter of your mind, and your mind is saying, I get that, I don't get it. I understand, I don't understand. I agree, I disagree. Your mind is doing that, right? We and animals occupy exactly the same space. They breathe the same air, and they walk on the same ground, and they get the same heat from the same sun. The difference between us and them is our mind is constantly having a dialogue. So, now the question is, what dialogue is going on in your mind right now? Have a think. Some of you are intrigued. Some of you are already bored. Some of you are daydreaming. Some of you are glad that you're here. Some of you are already regretting, why did I come here? Yeah, this guy is going to just completely fry my brain. We don't ever on our day-to-day basis, take a step back and just reflect, what is my mind doing right now? But my mind is always doing something. There's always a story going on. So we can understand that the mind is this whirlpool of thoughts. And how your thoughts behave, in particular, when some negative event happens, is something we need to understand. How your mind behaves. So, I take the example a lot of the times of how my kids act. Because when we analyze how children act, we'll realize we're not that different from them. So, I got 2 boys, and they're always arguing with each other, always competing for the same toys, always want what the other one has. I was playing with that, now I want it for longer. He was playing with it for 5 minutes, now I want it for 10 minutes. That sort of thing is always going on. So there's a conflict all the time happening. So kids are arguing, parent walks into the room and immediately shouts at one of the kids. Think about how your mind would react. You're playing, you're wrestling with your brother or sister or whatever, and you're arguing with them. Parent comes in, just starts screaming and shouting at you straight away. What happens? First thing that happens, the event happens, and the mind perceives something's gone wrong. There's a threat. Yeah? In some way, daddy's walked into the room. Yeah? Quick. Or mummy's shouting. Event happens, the mind perceives it as a threat, and then reacts. Yeah? In one way or the other. More often than not, my kids start shouting back at us. Right? Because when we were younger, our kids had this. Right? We don't use these anymore. But our kids are not afraid of us the way we were of our parents. Right? So my kids, we walk into the room, we start shouting at them, they start shouting back at us. But what's interesting is what happens afterwards. And you'll notice this in your own relationships. If you have an argument with someone, you go through the same process. An event happens, someone says something bad to you, someone shouts at you, someone says something negative. You perceive it as a threat, you react straight away. But when it's over, what do? You keep thinking. The mind has a feedback mechanism. Event, some sort of traumatic event, reaction, and then afterwards you start deciding, that didn't feel nice. I feel angry, I feel disappointed, I feel this, I feel that. You know what your mind does? Your mind replays that same trauma again and again and again. Am I right? Your mind replays that trauma. The longer you replay that trauma in your mind, the longer you're going to feel that feeling that comes out from that. Okay? So something happens, you don't feel bad straight away. You feel bad a minute later. Once the argument has happened, then it starts sinking in. And then it carries on. The story goes on. And the story, the thoughts, then now convert to emotions, feelings. There's a feeling, there's an emotion now. Emotion is a story that's attached to it. An emotion doesn't just happen on its own. Emotion is based on the story that you keep telling yourself.
Isn't love the same way?
Oh, is love the same way? Let's pick that up in the Q&A section, yeah? At the moment, I want you to follow where I'm going with this, but I haven't had thought about that myself, so maybe we should explore that, yeah? So, your story now becomes the most important factor. The longer the story continues, the longer your trauma continues. And we know people for whom some event has happened and the trauma, the story has not stopped for years. The feeling has not stopped for years. What is it that's happened? All that's happened is that story keeps replaying itself. I don't know if you've ever noticed, if you've ever been unfortunate enough to be in a collision, a car crash of some sort. Yes? for the rest of that day at least, and even at night, that car crash is still going on in the mind. Right? Still going on. You keep visualizing that same event. The same thing is happening. Every time your mind experiences a threat, it has that same reaction. You know what's even more interesting? When you went through that trauma, when you went through that car crash, when you had that argument, when you had that clash with someone or something, your mind released your brain starts releasing stress hormones, and your brain starts releasing chemicals so that your body can fight or flight, can do something. What is fascinating is as long as the story keeps getting repeated, those stress chemicals keep getting released. This is why when people talk about the negative impact of stress, it's not that the stress hormones are bad hormones. The stress hormones are needed for your body. You know, a tiger starts chasing you, you need those stress hormones. Straight away, you need to run. But what happens is we keep releasing those stress hormones, and the long-term release of those hormones is what causes the damage to your body. And that's just well-known science these days. So we need to learn, what do we do about this story? How do we deal with this story in our mind? What your mind is doing, okay, we've talked a little bit about traumatic events. But in reality, your mind does that for all sorts of events. So let's say, for example, if anyone's gone to Costco recently, you'll notice that the shelves are clearing out, right? And when you get to the till, there's a long queue. What does your mind do? You've gone to the shops, you need to buy some stuff, you're ready to pay. There's a big long queue, there's a big line. What does your mind do? Your mind first starts looking for a shorter queue. Why? Your mind has always had this question at the back. How do I make this situation better? At every moment, your mind is always asking this question to itself, how do I make this situation better? So, there's a long queue. How do I make this situation better? I look for a shorter queue. Otherwise, why do we do it? We're always trying to improve the situation in some way. If I can't find a shorter queue, then what does the mind start doing?
Look at the queue with less items.
Look at the queue with less items, but if you can't find a different queue, there's only one till open.
Find a friend who is in the front of the line.
Huh? You find a way to get to the front of the line? What does your mind do? Say it? Start complaining. If I can't improve the situation, at least I can blame someone. Right? Start blaming the situation in some way or another. Be patient. How many people's mind actually does it? Be honest. Mine doesn't. Right? You don't have a choice, but your mind can complain. It doesn't cost anything to complain, right? Right? That much is free. So your mind starts a story. Why don't they open another till? Look how many staff are standing there. They're not doing anything. Right? Why don't they open another till? Right? Why does everybody have to shop the same minute I'm shopping? What's wrong with these people? Yeah? They're not buying anything essential. I have to buy this stuff. Right? Your mind starts doing all these things. If only my kids didn't make me leave late, I could have been in the store a little bit earlier. The story starts. Now the question is, that's not a useful story, but why is the mind doing it? Because it can't change the situation, but it still has to find a way to make the situation better. And the way I'll make the situation better is I'll blame everyone else. At least it's not my fault. I'm standing in this queue, but it's not my fault. It's his fault and their fault. And then you start looking at what everyone else has in their grocery bags and in the shopping trolleys. And it's like, yeah, look how many he's buying. Right? These things start happening in the mind. So, where am I going with this? Guru Nanak Dev Ji understood this process of the mind. Guru Nanak Dev Ji understood that the mind is always having a story. And what he delivers to you and me is a solution to that problem. Now you might think, that's not that big a problem. Why does someone like Guru Nanak Dev Ji need to come? Well, think about it. All of your issues in life really can be boiled down to one thing. how does my mind interpret this situation? How does my mind feel about this situation? What do I think about this situation? Because as I think, so I feel. As I perceive, so I receive. How I view the situation determines how happy I am about the situation. Right? As I perceive, so I receive. What I get out of life is based on how I think about it. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji is here to show you, if you change the story, your entire experience of life changes. Remember, we're not talking about any God thing, right? Forget about God. Let's just talk about us, right? Let's worry about us before we try creating another trauma. How do I find God? Right? Let's forget that. For now, how do I just sort my own mind out? And so, what we need to do is we need to find ways to transform the narrative. Does everyone understand this word narrative? The story that's going on in our mind. The constant trauma, the retelling, the memories that we have. You know, the scientists who study memories, you know what they say? They say the majority of your memories are fake news. All the things that you think that's exactly how it happened is actually not what's happened. Your mind actually just remembers selected bits of what actually happened. So even your memories are just a story. They're not a factual recollection of what happened. Most of the things that you remember are not the way it actually happened. So we need to find a way to improve this story. And this goes way beyond the positive thinking that we think that we need. Just think happy thoughts. Just think good thoughts. Don't think about the negative. Right? It goes way beyond that. What the Guru wants to do is to transform your very understanding of life, and more importantly, your understanding of yourself. You need to change how you think about yourself. And most of us are not willing to do that. Most of us are not even aware that that's what is available to us. When you go to the Gurdwara and you matha take this Guru and you bow down, what are you bowing down to? What we're bowing down to is the most sophisticated wisdom on the human experience. The most sophisticated wisdom of you. You're bowing down to a teacher of you. Otherwise, what does the Guru teach? If we are students of the Guru, you go to a biology teacher, you know what they teach, what subject they teach. You go to a chemistry teacher, you go to a maths teacher, or even to a tennis coach, you know what they teach. What subject does the Guru teach? Most of us would think the Guru teaches about God. But I think the Guru teaches us about us. When we understand what we are, then we'll understand what God is. Right? Because we go to the Gurdwara and we hear these lines, Man, tu jot sarup hai, apna mool pachan. Oh mind, you are the embodiment of divinity, divine light. Recognize yourself first. First understand what you are. Right? So we think that we are a mind, we think we are a body, we think we are a soul, but we don't really understand ourselves too much. So the Guru is trying to change your understanding of yourself. So shall we do some of that today? Let's do that. I want you all to put down any of your notepads or anything that you have. So make sure there's nothing on your hands. And then just try a little experiment with me. Remember what the Guru is doing. The Guru is reframing your understanding of yourself. And Guru starts by showing you you are far more connected to the world around you than you think you are. Let's give it a go. Close your eyes. Just take a moment to slow your breathing down. And pay attention to your breathing. Notice that without trying, your body is constantly breathing in fresh oxygen. And that oxygen is going into your body and keeping you alive. And you didn't even have to try very hard. That body is just doing it for you. And take a moment to just think about, where does this oxygen come from? Think about all the trees that made this oxygen for you to breathe. Think about the last meal that you had. Where did all that food come from? Think about all of nature that is sitting in your belly right now. You're breathing in what the trees have created, and you're eating what the earth has given you. The air that you're breathing is what keeps you alive, and the food that you've eaten is what's keeping you alive. Nature had to give up something in order to keep you alive. You are literally the essence of nature. You are literally alive because of the air of the trees and the food of the earth. That which had kept the trees alive is what is now keeping you alive. You cannot be here right now without all of nature being connected to you. That life energy that is in you is also the same life energy that is in nature all around you. You are nothing but nature. In fact, it is nature that owns your body. It is nature that sustains your body. It is nature that has created your body. Because you cannot keep your body alive without the help of nature. So take a last couple of breaths in, and when you're ready, bring yourself back into the room. Your connection, even with the air around you, is so profound that we don't even take a moment to appreciate that what the universe breathes out, you breathe in. What you breathe out, the universe breathes in. And so when you talk about finding God or connecting, it's right there under your noses. It's inside you. You and it are all connected. You cannot be disconnected from it. Your very body is made of the elements of the earth. What you thought was your body is not your body. Try and look after it on your own. if you had to breathe based on your own effort, we'd all be dead. Because we can't even remember where we kept our keys. How are we going to remember to breathe 24 hours a day? So your body and you are connected. Your body and nature are connected. You and nature are literally the same thing. And we need to understand what is going on here. We don't understand that about ourselves and how we are connected. So, everyone pull out your phones again. Especially those of you who have some sort of Gurbani app where you're able to read the Shabad and read the translations if you have that. If not, I'm going to go through a few lines from a Shabad and I want you to see if you can follow it with me. Everyone got it? So there's a Shabad that I want you to go through. I think most of the time you search by the first letter. So the first line is sarab jeeaa sir lekh dhuraahoo sassa jajja sassa lalla tada. Let's go through this Shabad because it's going to reveal something that I feel most of us haven't really thought about before. So it's by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Rag Sorat'h, mahalaa pehilaa. Sarab jeeaa sir lekh dhuraahoo bin lekhai nahee koiee jeeau. Destiny looms over the heads of all beings. Everyone has a story written for them. That's what the line is starting by saying. Sarab jeeaa, all beings, on their head, on their forehead, has their destiny written. Has their story being written for them. Bin lekhai nahee koiee jeeau. Nobody lives without their story. Everybody has a story. Everyone has a past. Everybody has a present. Everybody has someone somewhere that they came from and someone that they have been related to. Everyone has a history. Nobody is without their own story. And I like to think about life as a little bit like a story. And the problem that we have is we all think that we're the hero. We all think we're the central character of this story. That's how we live. But we're all living a story. And when you take life as a bit of a story, sometimes it becomes a little bit easier to deal with. So when you're standing in the shopping queue, what if the story was, oh, as part of my story today, I had to get late. You see what happens? You start now controlling the narrative. You start now dictating, I'm going to say what the story is. I'm not going to let my mind just start complaining without my permission. Everybody has a story. Nobody is alive without their own story. Aap alekh kudharat kar dhekhai hukam chalaae soiee jeeau. Now it talks about this bigger thing. The oneness itself is creating the story. Aap alekh. There is only one thing that doesn't have a story. And that's the writer of this story. They are alekh. They don't have their own story being written. That universe is writing our story. But who is writing the universe's story? There's no one writing the universe's story. The universe is the writer. Yeah? Aap alekh. There is this one thing. Notice the key word I'm not using. What's the word I'm not using? Thank you. I disagree with this word God profoundly. And those of you who have heard my talks before will know why. Because as soon as you create a God, there becomes an old man with a white beard sitting in the clouds. And we're not interested in Santa Claus. Yeah? So we're talking in a different language because we're here to learn. If we're here to learn, you're here to be challenged. You're here to say, I might need to know something new that I didn't know before. Otherwise, what is a student? What's the difference between a student and a teacher? The teacher knows the subject. The student goes with the mindset, I don't know. I need to know more. I'm willing to have whatever I know improved. If you think you know it all, then you're no longer the student. Then you're the teacher. And our title, the title that you've been given, if you are the follower of the Guru, the title that you've been given is you're always a student. I say something about the Sikh. The Sikh is always a student. You've enrolled in a school where you never graduate. You're never allowed to graduate from this school. Which means every day you go with the attitude, I can learn something new today. And what I'm going to say today is, let's stop using this word God. It's an unhealthy word. It's not a useful word. So, aap alekh kudharat kar dhekhai. There's this system that is writing the story, the system called nature. Kudharat, the word has come. Kudharat is doing everything. Hukam chalaae soiee jeeau. It is running the system. I call hukam the natural system that's happening. So we're all part of that system. The system of the air, the trees breathing, we're breathing out, the trees are breathing in, the food, life, sun, all of this connectivity called kudharat, we're all part of it. Now, the key line is what the Guru wants for you, and in reality, what we all want from ourselves. What's the one thing that we're all looking for in life? Happiness, right? Everyone's looking for more happiness. And I started this workshop by asking, how do we make life feel better? Where do we get that happiness from? This is the line. Oh, my mind, remember this, and you'll be happy. Japo. Jap has two meanings, to recite, and the other meaning is to know. To know. Japo means here, understand this, know this system of this nature, this unfolding story, and koiee, and you'll be happy. You say, that sounds simple, but it's harder than it looks. Ehnis gur ke charan sirevo har data pugta soiee. Day and night, learn this lesson of the Guru. Day and night, remember the Guru's teaching. Remember this provider, this system that's providing for you all the time. Remember that air that you're breathing. But we don't, right? We take it for granted. The air that we're breathing, the food that we eat. We even complain about the food that we eat. Right? The Guru is saying, I want you to change the story. Don't change what you do. Right now, don't change what you do. The Guru didn't say, wake up earlier to be happier. The Guru doesn't say, grow your hair to be happier. That's not what the Guru is saying. The Guru doesn't say, stop eating this and stop drinking that to be happier. The Guru is saying, right now, just understand. Understand this and you'll be happier. All of that other stuff will come later. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just understand this. Day and night, that's a big challenge already. 24 hours a day, remember this. You say, oh my God, you've already given me too much. Like I can't learn anymore, I just need to do that. There's a beautiful story I remember being told once, where Guru Arjan Dev Ji, the fifth Guru, is in his darbar, in his court, and someone new has come to see him, a pandit, a scholar of wisdom, and they come to the Guru and say, Guruji, I'm here to learn from you. Teach me a lesson. I want to learn from you. Guruji says, okay, but you've got to keep coming back. I can't just teach you in one day. You have to come back regularly. They said, Guruji, I'm ready. I'm ready to learn from you. He says, okay, I'll teach you a lesson. Let's start with Sukhmani Sahib. And he says the first line, Simro simar simar sukh pavo. Go away and learn that. Meditate, 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 and remember this, and you'll be happy. Sure enough, Panditji goes away and says, yes, okay, that sounds good, I'll learn that lesson. A long time goes by, and he never came back. And after a really long time, Guruji bumps into him once again and says, you were meant to come back to me time and time again. What happened? He said, Guruji, that first line that you gave, I'm still working on it. I'm still working on how to be happy and how to remember at every moment. So these lessons, we skim over them very quickly, but they're very big lessons that the Guru is teaching us. Day and night, understand this. Now it gets a little bit deeper. Jo antar so bahar dekho, avar na duja koiee jeeau. That which is inside you is the same as that which is outside you. Do not see them as two different things. Let me clarify that again. Whatever is inside you is the same as what is outside of you. They're not seen as two different things. You and everything around you cannot be seen as two things, according to Guru. Jo antar, so bahar dekho. Whatever you think you are, whatever you're made up of, mind, body, spirit, memories, thoughts, history, the language, all your experiences, all your traumas, all your happy memories, everything that's inside you is also right around you as well, and all around you. Everything around you, from the biggest and furthest away galaxies to the smallest insects and worms and bacteria, is all exactly the same as what's inside you. Now the Guru is starting to give us lessons that are just really shifting our understanding. Jo antar so bahar dekho, avar na duja koiee jeeau. Do not see them as two different things. They are not two. They are only one. Gurmukh ek drisht kar dekho. Follow the Guru's instruction and see all of this as oneness. Ek drisht kar dekho. With one view, with one eye. See what you are and what everything else is with one eye. As in, see them all as the same. Kat kat jyot samoyee jeeau. In every one of us is that same thing. So this starts to really mess with our brain a little bit. Conceptually, it sounds nice. I get it. Okay, oneness sounds really good. Satpal Singh's talked about it before. I've heard these videos before. But now I'm starting to break them down. I'm really pausing and putting the pressure back on you. Do you get it? You are the same as everything around you. Just take a moment to process that. You are the same as everything and everyone in this room. If that becomes too conceptual and too hard to understand, right now, we're all breathing exactly the same air. Even that connects us all. Even that right now connects all of you. That the air that you're breathing in and out is also the same as the air in the person next to you. The same oxygen that's in your lungs is the same as the oxygen in the person next to you. And the same as all around you. Very good question. So the question is, how do we go about really seeing it as one? How do we go about understanding it conceptually, but actually physically, mentally, really seeing it as one? The first step is understanding it conceptually and accepting it conceptually. That's the first step. And I think most people don't even make it that far. Most people don't understand that we are actually the same thing. So what we will do is we'll look at this room and they'll say there's 200 people in this room. But the Guru might turn around and say, no, there's oneness in this room. There's only one thing in this room. The question now becomes, does your mind constantly self-reference to retain itself? And we're going to go into that a little bit more. What your story is doing is your story is constantly saying, I am me and I am the most important person and everyone else can do what they want. Your mind is doing that all the time. When you're stuck in traffic, you want to go first. You don't want the other guy to go first. When you're at the back of the queue, you want to be at the front of the queue. So your mind, that story that we talked about earlier, is constantly self-referencing and constantly repeating the story that I am the individual. The Guru's technique says, and which is what we're going to come on to now, change what your mind is doing. And that's what we're going to talk about now, and it'll become a little bit clearer. Change what your mind is doing. First, understand the concept that only oneness is all around you. Look at the next line. Chalto thak rakho kar apne. Your wandering mind, bring it back home. See how Guruji is answering your question? Your wandering mind that goes everywhere and is always worried about 100 different things, bring it home. Chalto thak rakho kar apne, gur miliye eh mat hoi jeeau. You're only able to do this. The question is going to be, how do I do that? It says you need a guru to teach you how to do that. When you meet the guru, you'll know how to do this. So Guru's not giving you instructions and saying, off you go, leave you on your own. The Guru's saying, no, stay with me, and I will further instruct you how to do this. Dekh adrisht raho bismadi, dukh bisre sukh hoi jeeau. See what you have not been able to see so far. Dekh adrisht. See what you have not been able to see so far. Raho bismadi. And sit back in amazement. There is something amazing in this room right now, and we're missing it. There's something that connects all of us right now, but it's invisible to us. Why? Because our mind is telling its own story. Your mind is not telling you this story. Your mind is not reading this out to you all the time. Your mind is telling its own story. I wonder what time he's going to finish. I wonder if my car is going to be okay outside. Or did I switch the oven off? Or did I get what I needed to make dinner tonight? Or do I need to go pick up the kids? Look where your mind is going all the time. Your wandering mind, the Guru is saying, hey, bring it back home. There's something amazing here right now, and you're missing it because your mind is in the past or in the future. Your mind is not here in this room. It might be planning a holiday, or it might be making a sandwich, but it's not here. Where's the question from?
Is it focus?
It's a little bit less than focus, because the word focus means to concentrate on one thing. What we're saying is recognize your mind's ability to always go somewhere else and just bring it back, bring it home, bring it here. So it's less about focus on one thing. What it's more about is be here. Keep your mind here. Notice what is here rather than ignoring what is here right now. Notice that you are here, and your mind might initially say, well, so what that I'm here? While I'm here, I might as well think about other things, because I've got lots of things to plan for. Right? That's what our mind naturally does. So what? But when you're thinking about lots of different things, you miss something. You miss something that's here right now. That's amazing. Guruji is saying, can't you see it? Can't you see that which you are looking for is here? What are we all looking for in life? Happiness. Guruji is saying, can't you see what I can see? Because I'm so amazed by what is here right now. Even if you brought your awareness back to your breathing and you just took one more breath in and you think, wow, I'm breathing. Even that is a miracle. If you think about it, that's a miracle. Look at this amazing machine that's been created that walks on its own, is running with no wires, it's wireless, and it's fully able, and it's able to do so many things, and it can talk, and it can eat, and it can move, and it can play tennis, and it can run, and it can dance, and it can do so many things. How much did you pay for this? Nothing. It's pretty good, huh? Some of ours are a little bit old now. They need an upgrade. Yeah, maybe needs a new hip replacement or something. Some parts need to be replaced, but it's still pretty amazing. There's nothing that you can buy that can replace this. And we don't appreciate that. And because you don't appreciate that, you don't know the value of what you have. So you're always looking for something else. That's why your mind always goes somewhere else. It doesn't stay here and think, oh, I can be happy with what I have right now. You know, if you think about it, if somebody asked you, if you were selfish, if you were taking your body for granted, and you think, yeah, I've had this body my whole life, no big deal. Ask somebody who's missing an arm. They might even ask you, how much do you want for that arm? Give me, I'll pay you. How much do you want for that leg? How much do you want for those eyes? And then you think, I don't know what value, I can't put a price on this. You say, no, surely everything's got a price. 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 100 million? Give me your eyes. And then you realize, whoa, what I have is pretty priceless. Yeah? But your mind doesn't do that. Your mind goes all over the place. Bring it back. Guruji saying, can't you see what is here? When you see what is here, raho bismadi, be amazed with what is here. Forget your sorrows and be happy now. Dukh bisre, forget what your mind is saying is causing you trouble. What you have is pretty amazing right now. Pivo apyo param sukh paye. Drink this amrit that's here right now. Drink the nectar. Drink the juice of what is available to you at this very moment. The juice of life, of being alive, of being present, of being healthy, of being able-bodied, of being safe. You're safe and able-bodied and well-fed and protected and clothed. How many things have we just labeled that so many people don't have? Be amazed at what you have. Drink the amrit, that amazing drink of life that you have available to you right now. Param sukh paye, and you will find all the happiness that you've been looking for. Correct me if I'm translating this stuff wrong, please, folks. Right? What I'm doing is I'm literally breaking it down so that you can see how does this Gurbani stuff work. This is all one Shabad. It's not 50 Shabads, but so many lessons in here. In every word, if you take it, say, oh wow, there's some real value in this stuff. One Shabad, yeah? Probably 5 or 10,000 Shabads in Guru Granth Sahib. The manual of you. The best kept secret of the world, really. It's here. Drink this essence, param sukh paye, and find supreme happiness. Nij kar vasa hoye jeeau. It's right there in your own home. Where are you going to go for happiness? What can you buy that replaces what you have? It's right there in your own home. Janam maran pav panjan gaye. When you think like this, it gets rid of your fears. You don't even worry about dying. Because dying is simply understanding, I got given this for free, but it's on rent. At some point, I've got to hand it back. Yeah? There's not many things that we rent anymore. When we were younger, you used to go to like Blockbuster Video. Our kids don't even know about these things anymore, right? You had to go and rent stuff. Most kids don't even know what a library is, right? These days. But the idea is, this is borrowed. This is on rent. You go to the library, they don't charge you for the book, but the only price you have to pay is you got to give it back. It's borrowed. It's on lease. There's a fixed term, but you don't have to pay everything. 0%. 0 fees, 0% interest. But after the term is up, you got to hand it back. So you will not be afraid of dying when you understand this. And when you understand this, birth and death do not become a trauma for you. You're not going to worry that, oh, I've got to be born again and there's reincarnation. And we had this question yesterday. I was talking to some of our friends, what is reincarnation? And I said, I don't know. I don't know if I was a mouse in my last life or a horse or a king or a beggar. I don't know. But I know right now, it doesn't bother me because I don't remember my last life, and chances are in my next life I'm not going to remember this one unless I have YouTube. Then I can go back and check, right? So you're not going to worry about your past. You're not going to be worried about dying. You're not going to be worried about reincarnation or am I going to go to heaven or am I going to go to hell? Let's not worry about that, because what is that? That's the mind wandering off somewhere else again. And the Guru said, hey, bring that thought, bring it back home, because there's something amazing happening here right now. This is the most profound line of this Shabad, which most people within the Sikh tradition have completely rejected this way of thinking. But the Gurbani has always accepted this way. Tat niranjan jyot sabae soham ped na koiee jeeau. There's a Vedic word used here, Soham, I am that. I am God. I am that divine being. Tat niranjan jyot sabai. That invisible divine light, Soham, I am that. Ped na koiee jeeau. There is no difference between me and that divine. You know, this word Soham is such a beautiful word, and I find it very interesting where Sikhs are quite close-minded sometimes and say, no, these are Hindu words, or they're from the Veds, or they're from these other traditions, or like they're inferior. You don't understand the value of those traditions either. We don't understand our tradition, we don't understand the other traditions. Even this word Soham is so beautiful. You know what the saying is? That when a baby is born, it cries out, Koham, Koham. It cries and cries, and it cries to the universe. And it says, who am I? What am I? Koham, what am I? And the universe replies, Soham, you are me, and I am you. That's the word that Guru has used. This is what you are. You are the essence of the universe, and make no mistake, you are not different to the universe. You are not different to this oneness. You are not different to God. Tat Niranjan, that essence of reality, that invisible force, Jyot Sabai, that light that is everywhere, is also mine, and I am it. Ped na koiee jeeau. There's no difference between me and it. Aparampar par brahm parmeswar, that infinite divinity, call it God, call it the oneness, call it the universe, that whatever this is, whatever this universe thing is, even if you're an atheist, there's something here, right? There's something amazing here right now that's called life. That we can agree on. That infinite being that is called the universe or life, Nanak says, when the Guru showed me how to find it, I realized that I and it were the same. Aparampar par brahm parmeswar, Nanak gur milya soiee jeeau. Nanak says, the Guru shows me what that is. But remember, your homework is that dhuraahoo line. Mana re ram japo sukhoi. Don't forget this and you'll be happy. That's your homework the Guru is giving you. Ehnes gur ke charan serevo. 24 hours a day, remember this lesson, that har data pugta soiee. Look at this word here, data pugta. You know what that means? The giver and the receiver is one. The data, the giver of gifts, and the pugta, the enjoyer of gifts, are all one. Don't forget that lesson. So if you thought you were coming to a lesson about how to be happy, the Guru is actually saying to you, I can show you how to be happy, but there's a big price that you have to pay. And the price that you have to pay is your very understanding of yourself has to change. That's the price that you have to pay. Otherwise, the Guru doesn't have a fee. But he's saying first, there is a fee. Joto prem khilan ka chao, sir tar tali gali mere aao. If you want to play this game, if you want to enter this school, the price is you have to give yourself up. Pehla maran kabool, jeevan ki chhad aas. First, understand that the price that you have to pay is you have to give what you think you are. Doesn't sound so scary. Nobody's saying you got to actually give your body, or you got to give your head, or you got to give something, or you don't have to give anything. You have to give your understanding up that I am me. Hum main, me, I am myself. Guru says that's the price. Give me that. Pehla maran kabool, jeevan ki chhad aas. First, give up your own individuality, that you want to live like I'm fine as I am. Don't change me, just give me some nice lessons. Nope, I can't give you that. If you want to learn what the Guru wants to teach you, the price is yourself. You are the price. Jeevan ki chhad aas, ho sabna ki renka, to aao hamare paas. Then come to this school when you're willing to drop that low, when you're willing to give everything and say, in return, I want happiness. So if you want to know what happiness is, it's all in this one Shabad. Now the big question is, what do I do about it? And that's where I want to open it up now to Q&As, to conversation, to discussion, because I'm really good at giving conceptual ideas, but we need to now break down. You need to now challenge me as I've challenged you, to say, how do I do it? What do I do? What do I need to do every moment? Do I need to do something? Do I need to focus? Do I need to do something different? What do I do? The Guru's instruction is quite simple. Change your understanding of what you are. So first lesson, understand this. You need to change what you think you are. You cannot ask for happiness in life without changing what you think you are, because all of that is temporary happiness. Can't I just buy some nice clothes? You could, but that won't last. It'll give you a short-term happiness. But what the Guru is saying is this permanent happiness. Now the question you have to ask yourself is the price too high? Maybe I don't want permanent happiness. Maybe I'll say, thanks, but no thanks. I'll just go live my normal life. The normal life means I'm going to go through this emotional roller coaster every minute because I'm not willing to challenge what my mind is doing. So the mind is going to make me really happy one moment and then really sad the next moment and then really happy and then sad. And I'm just going to go through this emotional roller coaster all day, every day for the rest of my life. You say, okay, fine, if you're happy to live like that, go ahead. Nobody's forcing you. Or, and this is a big or, have you reached the point in your life where you say, you know what? I'm done. Enough's enough. I'm done with all of the anger. I'm done with all of the conflict and all of the challenges and all the battles that I face in my life every day. I'm done. I give it. Guru here. I'm done. When you reach that point, rock bottom is a really great place to be. Everybody needs to hit rock bottom. Until you hit rock bottom in your life, you're going to think, oh, I don't need to do this stuff. I'll just buy something shiny. I saw a great t-shirt in the center of London one day. It was a woman's t-shirt, and it was on a rack in a shelf, and there was a bunch of men's t-shirts, and then the women's t-shirt just had in glitter saying, "I was going to take over the world, but then I saw something shiny." And it was just, I thought, that's life. I had so much potential, but then I saw something shiny and it distracted me. And that's what we all do. All day, every day, men, women, children, and grown-ups. I was going to do so much, but then I got distracted by so little. So the question is, are you willing to have the happiness that Guru is offering for the price that the Guru is offering? If the price is to give yourself up, what are the steps? What are the steps needed in order to give yourself up? Was that the question, Vijay? What are the steps needed? Now, I would say time and time again, there are some factors that you need to consider. If you're enrolling into this school, if we can just keep all the mics off until we need them. Thank you. If you're enrolling in this school, you need to follow a few things. One is, golden rule, the Guru is always right. These are the rules of this school. The Guru is right, whether you understand what the Guru is saying or not. Now, some of you might question, how do we know that the Guru is right? I don't know that the Guru is right. Everyone has a religion. Everyone says their teacher is right. But in any school that you go to, the first thing you need to do is you need to trust that the teacher knows a little bit more than you. When you've learnt from that teacher, only then can you question, I don't think he's right, or I don't think he knows this, or he only knows this much, but maybe I need a better teacher. But most of us don't do that, even with the Guru. Most of us, especially the younger generation, without learning from the Guru will say, yeah, I don't need this Sikhi stuff. It doesn't do anything for me. It's probably not right. Most teenagers will say, I'm atheist. I don't believe in anything. It doesn't make sense. And what I always say is, well, you haven't first understood this. You can't make a decision without even learning how to actually come to that conclusion. What did you use to come to that conclusion? Instagram? What did you use to come to the conclusion that there is nothing here? There is no spirituality. There is no oneness. There's no God. Like, how did you come to that? What book did you study to tell you that? So, first step, understand that there is a teacher and you are a student. You have to align yourself with the teacher and student. You have to commit to a teacher. Now, there'll be those of us in the room who try lots of different spiritual traditions. I listen to a little bit of Sadhguru, I listen to a little bit of this, a little bit of Brahma Kumaris, I do a bit of yoga, I do some mindfulness, I do some Zen, I go to this and that. Okay, fine. But what I would say is, pick one teacher and dedicate to one teacher first. Try everything that you need from that teacher first. Hopping from one teacher to another is not that those teachers are wrong, but you won't get the best out of going from one teacher to another. And the analogy works even if you just think about any subject. Any subject, pick one teacher. You pick 5 teachers, you're going to learn something. None of those teachers are wrong, but they all have their own way of teaching you. Pick one. Get into one school. Learn from the teacher. And understand, I have to give myself up. Most people within spirituality who go to their yoga classes once a week, or they listen to some mantra, or they're reading some spirituality books, they're reading great things like Eckhart Tolle or any of the other spiritual traditions, they haven't understood this key idea. I have to give myself up. Within the Sikh tradition, within this spiritual tradition, the Guru is very clear on what the price is up front. I have to give that up. Now comes the understanding, how does the me get formed and how do I reverse it? And that goes back to what we started at the beginning of this session. Me gets formed every moment that I am self-referencing. All day, every day, I'm self-referencing. And when I'm self-referencing all day, every day, if I get up and do 5 minutes of meditation or mantar or simran or whatever it is, and you think, well, that didn't work, so clearly this doesn't work. And the example that I use is, if you are learning to swim, you don't expect on your first lesson to get into the water and to be able to swim flawlessly to the other side by the first lesson, do you? You don't expect that. You think, I'm going to take time to practice and get used to swimming to the other side. It's going to take me a while. But when it comes to meditation, we don't apply the same logic. What we do is, I've tried it for 5 minutes, it didn't work. And we come to the conclusion, it might work for other people, doesn't work for me. Right? I tried it for half an hour, and it doesn't work. But the Guru, what does the Guru say? Oh, by the way, you need to do this for 24 hours every day. So I've not been doing that, right? So have patience. Understand that you're in it for the long term. This is not a short-term thing. But the gains can start coming very quickly. As soon as you start a practice, you start meditating regularly, and I always encourage people, any meditation. Now I'm going to say that something which is different to what you've heard before. Any meditation, stick to it and try it for a while. Most of us are not meditating, let alone trying one type of meditation or one mantar. If it works for you to use a mantar, use a mantar. If it works for you to sit in silence, sit in silence. What you will find is everything works for a short period and then the mind gets bored, so you have to try something else. But have your commitment. Keep trying. Every day, meditate on a regular basis. People always say, oh, I don't have time to meditate. Yeah? My life is too busy. And what I say is, there are 2 times in the day that you always have to meditate. When you wake up in the morning, everyone's got a couple of minutes before they get out of bed. If you don't, set your alarm 5 minutes earlier. 5 minutes. Whatever time you're meant to get up, if it's 6 o'clock, get up 5 minutes before. Sit. Meditate. 5 minutes. And then when you go to bed, everyone's got 5 minutes before they sleep. Put your phone down. Switch Netflix off. Put the book away. Get the kids into bed. 5 minutes. Do that twice a day at least, and you'll start seeing the benefits. So the question was, what do you need? 1, you need a teacher. 2, you need commitment to a practice. The third thing that you need is you need other people in the same class to help you out. And that's called sangat. It's very difficult to do this on your own. If you have a life partner, if that life partner is on a similar journey, that's a huge bonus. If you have friends who are on a similar journey, it's a huge bonus. You need the support of other people to say, you know what, I tried my meditation today, it didn't work. And someone says, oh, it's okay, try that tomorrow, try something different. That's sangat. You need more people who are also doing the same thing. There are a handful of things that you need. It's like your first day of school, you need all of these different things. Then it's practice, practice, practice. Because there's only 5 or 6 or 10 different ways to learn how to swim to the other side. Then it's about keeping that practice going, and every time you're doing it, you need the support of the teacher to tell you, you need to do this, you need to do that. That's why within this tradition, you have a tradition of wake up every day and read this wisdom. Wake up every day and do a little bit of this meditation. Guru says 24 hours a day. I'm saying 5 minutes. To start with, at least 5 minutes. And every day, try at the end of the day to ask yourself, what did I do that can be improved today? When did I let my mind go so far off that I allowed the story of my mind to completely ruin how I felt today? We all do that, right? Our mind goes so bad, and sometimes people say, oh, I've got anger management issues. Oh, I have lots of problems with my family members. And I'm not saying that we don't. Some of us have real issues in our lives. Some of us go through some real difficulties and have to deal with some horrible people who are just in our life and we can't get out of it. But you have to ask yourself the question, what can I do? What did I do right? What can I do to improve? So there are many things, but ultimately it's that one thing. Really, the Guru's just given us one answer in this Shabad. Just remember this 24 hours a day. In Japji Sahib we say something similar. Gura ik de bujai. Give me one lesson, one understanding. Sabna jeeaa ka ik data, so main visar na jaye. That everything belongs to this one master, this oneness. Don't let me forget that. In reality, that's all you need to do. But it sounds simple, but it's actually the most challenging thing to do. So any more questions? Please raise your hands. Let's start having a discussion on this. The question is, I personally choose not to use the word God. How does my interpretation of Gurbani interpret words like Waheguru? To me, all of these words are trying to give attributes to something that cannot be spoken of. Yeah? The word Wah just means wow. Guru means enlightener. Wow, enlightener. Is that a name of God or is that an expression of somebody who is experiencing this oneness? The word Ram, that which is immersed, Ramya hoya, that which is immersed in everything. Hari, Har, that which is blossoming everywhere. Par Brahm, that supreme being. None of these are actually names. They're just pointers. Because Guru Gobind Singh Ji in Jap Sahib clarifies that whatever this thing is aname. Really has no real name. So when you think like that, then any word that you use, if it works for you to get you into that understanding of connectedness with this, whatever this is, this oneness, call it God, call it universe, call it life. I call it aliveness, life energy. Whatever word brings you back to that understanding is a good word for you. For me, the word God doesn't do that for me. Does that make sense? The word doesn't do that for me. I find universe to be a better word because I think this stuff. My mind goes outwards. It doesn't think that guy. With that understanding, is it fair to assume that Sikhism is not a theistic faith? If we say it's not theistic, then it becomes atheistic. As in, theism is the idea that there is some deity, some beingness. Most people translate the Sikh tradition as being monotheistic, single God, single theism, single being. I don't actually see it as monotheistic. I see it as panentheistic, which is not that there is some God sitting in the clouds with a white beard in the sky, but really everything is sacred. Whatever this thing is within me and all around me, as according to the Guru, as according to a Shabad that we've seen earlier today.
So in Japji Sahib, you start from God as one, Ik-Oankar.
I don't.
So how does that go? Like, the first word what we say is
Yes.
Ik-Oankar. So what does that mean? By saying, when you say that there is no God,
Yes.
like it is all universe.
Yes.
So how that Guru Nanak Dev Ji, by saying Ik-Oankar, means?
Guru Nanak Dev Ji says Ik-Oankar. Guru Nanak Dev Ji does not say there is one God. He says Ik-Oankar.
Okay.
Ik-Oankar does not mean there is one God. Because the word God isn't in that statement. There's Ik, which we know means one, and then there's Oankar, which doesn't mean God. Oankar means an unfolding vibrational entity, an infinite unfolding. Oankar is this constantly changing, molding entity. It doesn't even say it's an entity, because Purkh doesn't come until the third word. Ik-Oankar, Satnam, Karta Purkh, a being. That doesn't even come in until then. First, Guru Nanak Dev Ji says there's oneness and it is constantly unfolding. It's constantly oscillating. It's infinite. Ik-Oankar. It's just infinitely molding and moving and vibrating. One infinite vibration. Ik-Oankar. Look how different that is to there is one God. Yeah? Remember who the people are that translated this stuff for us. The definition Ik-Oankar, there is one God, is not a Sikh translation. The first people who came to translate this stuff were the European missionaries who came into India and they said, what is this Ik-Oankar business? And whoever tried to explain it to them, they said, oh, that sounds a bit like our thing. We've got this thing called God. Ik-Oankar, one God. Okay, there is one God. And the Sikh community was not educated well enough in English back then to be able to challenge that. So they said, okay, if you say there is one God, then that's what Ik-Oankar must mean, there is one God. And 250 years we're still stuck with that definition. It's time for us to take ownership of our own definitions. We've learned English now. We're able to push back a little bit. Great question. Why is it difficult for me to say there is one God? Because when you say God, what image comes in your mind? For most people, the image that comes in their mind is a male figure that's older than them and sits in the cloud somewhere. The word I have an issue with it. The word is not wrong. I have an issue with it. And I feel most people have the standard definition because when you have the conversation with other people of other traditions, what definition are they using? Because if you borrow other people's terminology, you also inherit their understanding. So we might have these amazing interfaith discussions and everybody's saying, yeah, we're all talking about the same God. No, we're not. And I'm not trying to say the Sikhs are like this and the Hindus are like this and the Christians. I don't care. I don't want to make those divisions. I'm not trying to do that. But I'm not going to use a word that doesn't belong to the Guru's tradition. The Guru doesn't use a word like God. Why am I going to use a word like God? When you use a word like God, you inherit the understanding of that God. And to me, that God is not what Ik-Oankar means.
You are comfortable with Rab?
Yeah. But what we've done, Punjabis are very clever. What we've done is every word, even in our mind, even if we don't use the word God, we think of that same God. Rab jane, God knows. Yeah? God knows, right? Same thing. Waheguru. When you talk about Waheguru janda. Kithe? Uppar wala. Where does this idea of uppar wala come from? In Punjabi, we're very comfortable with the word uppar wala. Right? Hindi, we use it as well, right? But Gurbani is saying, no, there's no uppar wala, there's andar wala. The one that's inside, not the one that's up there. So when you say God or Rab or Paramatma or Waheguru, you put your hands together and you look up. Right? God. Why? Because we've been colonialized. The Guru has an instruction. The Guru's instruction is Bahar dhoondat bahut dukh paave. Anyone who searches for this thing outside is going to fail. So when you look up, the Guru, I believe, will tell you you're looking in the wrong place. When you look down, you're looking in the wrong place. When you look within, that's where you need to find it. As soon as you look outside, what you do is you convince yourself that whatever this God thing is something outside, is greater than me, is beyond me. But it's not, it's in you, it's part of you. And the Guru's instruction to us, as I've understood it, and I really like your question there, because you've made it very clear, everything that I'm saying is not the truth. Everything that I'm saying is my interpretation. And thank you for clarifying that, because I say that quite a lot myself as well. Nothing that I say is correct. Please assume everything that I say is wrong. Assume that. Because it means that you'll go away and you'll say, I think I like what he says, but he might be wrong. Let me go and check. Get your own understanding. I am not here to be your teacher. I'm not a teacher. Why? Because I'm a Sikh. I'm just another student. And we never graduate because we have a teacher. The Guru is the teacher. I cannot be your teacher. I can simply be another student that says, hey, you know what the Guru says? This is how I understand it. I can only ever give you my interpretation. So everything I say could be wrong. Please assume it's wrong so that you go away and you understand it. And then you come back and you tell me, hey, you're wrong there. I say, oh, thanks very much, because I'm willing to learn. You're right that we do need to do good actions, and good actions is a way of almost interacting with God. And as long as you do that in the right way, you're a step closer. My only thing that I say with that is, you're absolutely right, we're not Guru Nanak. What you're saying is, let's be realistic. What can we actually achieve in our day-to-day life? What my understanding is that what's the alternative? If you look at all the other spiritual traditions, almost all the other spiritual traditions are what I would call monk-based traditions, sadhu-based traditions, traditions that have come from people who weren't married, who didn't have jobs, who didn't have kids, who didn't have mortgages and didn't have a house to look after. So they sat and meditated under a tree, and they sat in a cave for days and months and weeks and years. And they're the ones coming and saying, well, if you want to meditate, you need to meditate. You need to sit and you need to go and spend time doing that. I think what Guru Nanak Dev Ji said was, okay, that's good, but I have a job. I have kids. I have a life. I have a wife. I have things to do. Give me a technique that I can do while I'm doing all those things. And what I'm saying is, while you're doing all those things, yes, do lots of good things. But be aware of this story that's going on in your mind. Because you can do lots of good things, but in your mind, you're doing lots of negative things. So it's not just about doing good actions, it's also good thought. Remember that Gurbani gives us these 3 things that we need to be aware of. Man, bach and karam. Your thoughts, your words and your actions. All 3 have to be aligned. If your actions are good, but your words are not, then you're not in alignment. If your words are good and your actions are good, but your thoughts are not, then they're not in alignment. So all 3 have to be. So I take your point that you do need to have the right actions of just how you deal with the world. But I'd say add one thing more to that. Don't stop doing that, but add one thing more. Just be aware when your mind goes off or when your mind goes into negative thinking. Try and bring your mind into that repetition. Get into that habit of just celebrating and praising while you're doing all the things that you're doing. You don't have to stop what you're doing. This is the great thing about Guru Nanak's tradition. You don't have to stop what you're doing. While you're doing it, you have to adopt a new way of thinking. I think there are quite a few other hands up. 1, 2, 3. So, have we just been waiting? Okay. If we're all one, children might ask, why is it that there is hatred in some people and goodness in others? Why is it that if we're all one, we don't all think like one? Because there's one element inside every single human being, which is me. We all have this little thing inside us called main, I am. And we're born that way. In fact, the entire struggle of most spiritual traditions is to simply help you with that little thing. Me, I am. And as long as I am, then I am becomes the most important person. The story that's being written of life is not about life, is not about everyone. It's not everyone's story and everyone is equal. As long as there's a me, then it becomes my story. And in my story, I'm the most important one. And we all have that. We all have this sense that I am more important than you. And the Guru is simply trying to get rid of that way of thinking, that I am more important than you, but it's natural. But you know what the kids will ask? Why? Why do we have this I am? And in reality, it's like asking, why is the sky blue? It is. Why are the leaves green? I can give you a technical answer. And it's mitochondria and all these sorts of things and chloroform, and tell me some biologists who know more than me. Huh? Chloroplast and all these things, right? It's been a while since I've learned all these things. You can explain why a leaf is green with all these things, but ultimately a leaf is green because a leaf is green. Ultimately, the ego is there. Now the question is, do you want to do something about it? This question has come up time and time again. And it's not just kids that ask it, especially the grown-ups will ask it. Why do I have an ego? And the way I like to think about it is, imagine you're in a prison and the Guru comes along and says, hey, I have a way out. And you say, wait, first tell me why I'm in here. The Guru says, no, I have a way out. You're in a prison. I can get you out. You said, no, but first tell me why I'm in here. And the Guru says, look, I have a map. And you say, no, but I need to know why before I read your map and before I trust you. And the Guru says, I have a torch and we can see. And the Guru says, not only do I have a way out, I've been there. I've been out myself. I've helped lots of other people get out as well. I can help you get you out as well. And you say, but I need to know why. And you don't. You don't need to know why you have an ego. You need to understand you have an ego and the Guru has the key. The Guru has the key to get you out. Now the question is, do you want to get out? That's the question. Because you might actually be resisting for one reason only. I quite like it here. It's okay. I get fed on time. I know the cellmates next to me. They give us 5 minutes and we get to go outside and have a bit of a run around. I'm okay here. That's why I said before, you might be comfortable in your day-to-day life, and so Gurbani and the Sikhi and spirituality and none of this stuff's going to make any sense. But when you reach the point where you say, enough's enough, I'm done with this prison, I'm done with this trauma, I'm done with all of this up and down that I go through all day, every day. And that you can't instill in someone else. That the Guru has to stand there by the door with the key in his hand and wait for you to be ready. Are you ready to get out of this prison of the ego? Or are you not? When you're not ready, the Guru is standing there. You come when you're ready. I'm ready, the Guru is saying. I'm here to get you out. The why becomes a useless question. What is the best way to meditate? I wonder whether Gurbani has a preference. I don't think the Gurbani has a best way to meditate, but Gurbani says that for the mind, in this day and age, Kirtan and singing is the highest way. In Kal Yug, it says Kirtan is Pradhana. And let's break that up a little bit because it needs to be understood. I'm really glad you've asked this question. What is the best way to meditate? And I've always encouraged people, whatever way works for you. But I need you to understand what the Guru's way of meditation is. The Guru's way of meditation is not the same as prayer. When we say that we want to read Gurbani, some people say we want to do Nitnem, Japji Sahib, Rehra Sahib. How would you translate that? You'll say these are our prayers. Again, not a correct word. Prayer is not what we're doing. The word pray means, dear Lord, I've got some stuff to ask for. Right? I've got some stuff to say thank you for, but I got more stuff to ask. Yeah? Pray. You are praying that something comes. Gurbani has a different technique. Gurbani says, stop praying, start praising. Gurbani's method is gun gauna, to sing praises. at every moment, take the opportunity to celebrate what is there. That's what Kirtan is. That's what guna means, to sing praises at every moment, 24 hours a day. Use an opportunity to say, what can I say is amazing about this moment? How I explain it for my kids is I say, Guru Nanak gave you something called wow meditation. Waheguru, I call it wow Simran, wow meditation. At every moment, what can you say is wow? If you get into the habit of 24 hours a day being delighted by everything that is being available to you, that is Guru Nanak's technique. Guru Nanak's technique is to praise at every moment. So there are many techniques. There is the technique of understanding the self, gyan, wisdom. There is the technique of dhyan, of meditation and sitting in silence. There are many techniques of even dhyan, of yoga. But Guru Nanak's method was, he says, I'm a yogi too, but yoga banaya tera kirtan gaye. My yoga is singing your praises. Yeah? Let's not be deluded. This is also a type of yoga. Getting up every day and singing, and every moment remembering to sing God's praises. I use the word God loosely here so that we are understanding what we're talking about. But to sing, to be in a state of awe, to be in a state of wonderment, that even this moment is something so miraculous. That's Guru Nanak's technique of connecting, that I don't need to connect to God, I need to realize God. We don't need to find God, we need to realize that everything, including you, is already God. And the way you do that is being in a state of, wow, look Waheguru, look what you've done right now in this very moment. Look how amazing everything is. That's the technique of gunagana, singing the praises. And you say wow so much that eventually you lose yourself, that even this is wow. The technique of all spiritual traditions is ultimately to get you to one point, you have to disappear. The barrier between you and everything around you is me, the myself. The myself is your biggest problem. No matter what you do, no matter how spiritual you are, and no matter what your tradition is, the myself is the biggest problem. The Guru's technique is to not focus on deleting the myself. The focus is keep singing the praises of all around you and stop singing your own praises. Right? That's what we do all day. We do me thinking all day. I need to do this, I need to do that. Think about what happens when you wake up in the morning. When you wake up in the morning, what does your mind start doing? I need to do this, I need to do that. I haven't done that, I'm already late for that. You wake up and you're already late. You've already got 10 things to do when you wake up in the morning. So your mind has its own meditation. I call it the me Simran. We meditate on ourselves all day, right? The Guru's saying, I understand what your mind is doing. I'm going to give you a new technique, the tu Simran, the you meditation. Keep meditating, keep singing the praises of everything that's all there and all around you, that you forget about yourself. And if you can do that even for a moment, it's a great blessing. If you can do that all day, every day, then come and speak to me, because I need to know how to do that. What you're saying is, ego is useful because it means that I can be ambitious and I can succeed. So the importance is being given to succeeding and not to the ego. So you're saying, so that I can succeed, so that society can function, we need the ego. But what we see being demonstrated by the people who have conquered their ego, by the saints, by the gurus, the Brahmgyanis, they're not sitting there useless. They're still getting a lot of things done. Guru Nanak Dev Ji achieved a lot. Guru Gobind Singh Ji achieved a lot, and he didn't need the ego to achieve that. What you're saying is, and it's an intellectual exercise, which is, I think that if I lose my ego, I'm going to sit and be home and be happy all day, and that's not useful to anyone. realistically what we've seen is the ones who have dropped their ego, and by ego, let's clarify what we mean is this narrative of self-referencing all the time and only worrying about your own problems. The ones who dropped the self-referencing to their own problems then were in a position to start listening to everyone else's problems. They actually started doing more seva. They started saying, I'm no longer now concerned with my own well-being. My own well-being is not the highest priority. And as soon as that became not the highest priority, you started to hear the dukh of the rest of the world, the suffering of the rest of the world, that your priority now became to alleviate the other people's suffering. So the ones who don't have an ego, I don't believe sit at home and just with a big smile on their face. I think they actually start helping as much as possible. But it's an intellectual debate. I don't know what it's going to be like to have no ego, and that's why we don't know how to answer that question from our own experience. I can say that I've had glimpses, moments where I can say, I think I don't have an ego within this moment. I think that's the experience. Or even to be able to articulate it brings the ego back in. But I can say from my own subjective experience that there have been moments of non-ego, but not minutes or hours or weeks or days. So I don't know what it's like to act in a lifestyle without the ego. But I think it's an interesting perspective to say the ego might be useful. What I'm saying is that let's go with the Guru's perspective. I don't believe Guru talks in that way. I don't believe the Guru says, have 10%, get rid of 90%. The Guru is actually saying, "Home dirag roga hai." It's the ultimate disease that you have. Get rid of it. It's destroying you. So the sense that I am is the issue there. So it's an interesting way to think. And I applaud you for saying that actually there might be some benefit to it because I can help myself and I can help others. That probably goes back to just having a seva mindset that we talked about before, which is that you just want to benefit yourself and benefit others. And I think that's a very practical way to have your mind. Because in reality, yes, go earn. You're not going to be able to do anything if you don't have food on the table and a roof to live under. So I think it's a very healthy way to live. But I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that I need an ego to do all that. Very good question. The question is, how do you define happiness, spiritual happiness? And secondly, do you need a little bit of stress and sadness in order to function? To me, the happiness that the Guru is talking about, that spiritual masters are talking about, isn't the happiness that we strive for. It isn't the roller coaster of always being up and never being down. It's not the I'm always happy. In fact, the word that they use, and I think happiness now becomes a less relevant word when we're talking about it from a spiritual perspective. Actually, the word is sahaj. Stillness, contentment. It's the middle way. It's not the roller coaster going up and down, and you're always saying, I just want to be up all the time. They're always sukhi, they're always tranquil, they're always peaceful. The way I would describe that is the attitude of the spiritual contentedness is, I don't mind what happens. At every moment, I don't mind what happens. Whatever happens, I don't mind. I know where your question's coming. I can see it in your eyes, where the next question is. Let me clarify. I don't mind what happens. I define hukam in this way. If it comes, let it come. If it goes, let it go. Whatever comes in life, let it come. Whatever goes in life, let it go. Now the obvious follow-up question is, but what if something bad is happening? So, for example, I have kids. I'm not going to say, if somebody comes to attack my kid, let them come. Right? I'm not going to do that. Because as part of the system of the universe is built into me as a parent, that whether I like it or not, there's built into me this instinct, this innate nature to protect my kids. So the trouble is coming. A threat is coming to my child. I'm not going to say, let it come. At that point, the let it come is the emotion to protect. That's also there. Threat comes, but the natural instinct to protect is also there. Let that come. Do you see? That's where stress comes in. That's where that little bit of sadness, agitation, dealing with what needs to be dealt with. So I don't believe that the truly spiritually contented person is going to sit there and do nothing. I don't believe that's who Guru Nanak was. In fact, he was so spiritually contented, then why did he have to speak out against the barbaric dictators of that time? Why did he speak out against Babur? Why did he speak out about social injustice? Because there was a part of him that said that in my spiritual expression is not just to look after myself, it is sarbat tapala, to look after everything and everyone. So even if it means that my life is going to be in danger, but I can help others, I'll do that, because I don't have an attachment to myself anymore. I'm no longer putting myself as the highest priority. So there is an agitation that everyone else needs to be helped now. So I don't believe that you can avoid it. The dukh and sukh comes in life all the time. The happiness and sadness, the challenges will come in life all the time. So you don't need to worry about whether you need to have them in your life. They're going to be there anyway. But sahaj, contentment, is not the same as happiness. We're not trying to be always happy. It's this always peaceful. And when tough times come, you respond from a position of tranquility. Your response is not from ego, your response is from stillness.
So by being sahaj, in a way, we need to practice to let go of the joy that we feel when something really good happens in life.
Yes, absolutely. Gurbani says quite clearly, treat happiness and sadness as the same. Treat gold and dust as the same.
Next $1 million question is how to do that.
Then the $1 million answer is the Guru. Start doing it. There's no how. The Guru is saying treat it as the same. That doesn't mean give up your house. That doesn't mean sell your car and roll around in the mud. It's not what it means. It means have an attitude of let it come if it comes, and if it goes, let it go. It's an attitude. There's no how. There's do it, and then tell me how. Then you'll know how. If somebody shows you how to walk and you're looking at it and say, well, how do I do it? Well, you get up and you start walking. That's the only way to do it. You can't read any more books about this. At some point, you have to get up and start doing it. That's the how. The question is, what is the interpretation of Amrit Vela? In my early days, I wanted Amrit Vela to mean any time, because it meant that I didn't have to get up in the morning. I desperately wanted Amrit Vela to mean that. But Gurbani defines Amrit Vela by using this example of the bird who wakes up at Amrit Vela. Pehilaa bolya, right? In the early hours of Amrit Vela, the songbird sings. So the Guru uses the example of the bird that sings at the early hours of the morning to say that's what Amrit Vela is. And interestingly, the word Amrit Vela doesn't actually appear too many times in Gurbani. There's only a handful of places where it comes Amrit Vela, Amrit Vel, right? The early hours. But what I wanted to do in my earlier days is, Amrit Vela is any time that I'm remembering Gurbani. And that's a great way to say, well, I don't really want to get up in the morning. But in reality, Gurbani is saying that when you wake up in the morning, can your first thought be about divinity? Can your first thought be about oneness? Look at this line here, which defines a Sikh. Gur Satgur ka jo Sikh khaye, so palke ut har naam tyaye. What we translate that to mean as the Gursikh wakes up and does his Nitnem. That's not what the Guru is saying. Guru is saying, as soon as you wake up, har naam tyaye. What is your first thought? That's what the Guru is challenging you. He's saying, the real Sikh, as soon as he wakes up, his first thought is har naam, is the divine name, is the divine awareness. People like me, our first thought is to look at our phone. We wake up in the morning, that's the first thing I do. I start looking for messages, right? Because my first thought is about me, about myself, me Simran. The real Gursikh, their first thought is about you, Simran. So, Amrit Vela is actually important. It's built into this system, into the Guru's tradition of waking up early. And that's why when you wake up in the morning, the first thing your mind does is to list out all the things that it needs to do straight away. Yeah? Your mind starts telling you all the priorities. The Guru is saying, if you want to meditate, you need to wake up earlier than your mind. Earlier than your priorities. I'll give you a perfect example. When I wake up in the morning, I'm already thinking about what time do I need to drop the kids to school. Right? So if I wake up at, let's say, 6 o'clock, and I need to drop the kids to school, I only have that much time. I know I need to get ready, and I know I need to get the kids ready, and then get them in the car and drop them to school. What the Guru is saying is, that's not Amrit Vela. Amrit Vela is prior to your priorities. Before your priority starts. If your priority starts at 6 o'clock, because you know how much time it takes for you to get ready and to get to work, then Amrit Vela is the time before that, where you don't need to think about your daily priorities, where you can really just focus on meditating. Try meditating at 6 o'clock when you're getting late. Can't be done. One eye is on the clock. If you're closing your eyes, one eye is trying to open to check how much time you have left. So you need to wake up in plenty of time. If ever you wake up slightly late and you think, oh, I got 10 minutes, I can quickly do some meditation, it's the worst 10 minutes. You're trying to do Ik-Oankar, Satnam, Karta, just race through it. And unfortunately, a lot of people are very comfortable just doing that, quickly racing through it. But you're missing something. You're missing something in the beauty of those words. So the Guru is saying, before your priorities start, wake up earlier. Wake up in sufficient time. That's your Amrit Vela. Notice how I'm not giving you a specific time. I don't know what time you need to go to work. I'm not going to say it has to be 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock. What I'm saying is, when do your priorities start? Wake up in sufficient time before that you can actually meditate without needing to have one eye on the clock. I don't think it's important to do Mool Mantar. I think it's important to get it. In fact, it's the most important thing. Most shabads begin with Ik-Oankar Satgur Prasad. If you look at the way the Guru Granth Sahib is structured, when the melody changes, when the rag changes, it always starts with a whole Mool Mantar. Every section of the Guru Granth Sahib starts with a Mool Mantar. Why? Because the Guru is saying, everything that we're going to talk about is about that. The Mool Mantar is not something for us to skip and quickly read. You know, you read a Shabad and it'll just say Ik-Oankar Satgur Prasad, and then you try and read the Shabad. No. The whole Shabad is about Ik-Oankar Satgur Prasad. The whole Shabad is about Ik-Oankar, Satnam, Kartapur. The whole of the Guru Granth Sahib is about the Mool Mantar. The whole of the Mool Mantar is about Ik. So it's the most important thing to understand, not to do, not as something that you just mechanically recite without having any understanding of what it is. Your question is, if you're in a state of sahaj, why does Gurbani say, Jo mange Thakur apne te soiee deve? There are a handful of shabads in Gurbani that have been so badly misrepresented by the Sikhs and misused by the Gurdwaras and the Kirtanis and the Pathis that it's really something for us to reflect on. This is one of those shabads. Jo mange Thakur apne te soiee deve. What we hear is, whenever you have to ask something, ask for it and you will get it. Can we be honest and reflect on that and say, does that actually work? How many of us have got everything we ever asked for? So either that line in Gurbani is wrong, or we've misunderstood what that line is actually saying. The Gurus are very systematic. Most Kirtanis who sing that Shabad sing it from that line. The way you're meant to sing Kirtan is you sing it from the dhuraahoo line. That is not the dhuraahoo line of that Shabad. Rahao being the central theme of that Shabad. So you can't take another line, misrepresent it, sing that as the chorus, and everybody says, ask what you want. We've created God into, like, Aladdin. He finds a magic lamp and he rubs the lamp and he gets a genie, and the genie says, Jo mange Thakur apne te soiee deve. Whatever you want to ask, I'm going to give you. I give you 3 wishes, I give you 1,000,000 wishes. We've turned God into a genie who just grants you wishes, and it just doesn't work like that. So I'll ask you to go back and look at that Shabad, reflect on what is that Shabad actually saying. It's not saying ask and you shall receive. It actually doesn't work like that. So it's the Shabad that we've heard so many times, right? Chatur disa ki no bal apna, sir upar kar taryo. And I want to go down to the Rahao line first. Har jan rakhe Gur Govind. Yeah? The divinity looks after the servants of God. Yeah, I'm going to use some of this terminology now just for convenience sake. God, right? Har jan rakhe Gur Govind. The divine looks after those meditators, those servants, the ones who are devoted. Chalaae avgun sab mete. That divinity has brought them close and got rid of all of their avgun, their negative qualities. Dyal purak bakshand. Look how beautiful and giving this divine is, that it gets rid of all the problems. So keep that in mind. That's the Rahao. It's not ask what you want and you shall get. Chatur disa ki no bal apna, sir upar kar dharyo. Wherever I look, in all directions, this oneness is using its power to get things done. Chatur disa ki no bal apna. Yeah, we can go through word by word, but I don't want to spend too much time on this. Sir upar kar dharyo. So by this, it's saying very clearly, who's in control here? Are you in control, or is that oneness in control? Bal. It is in control. It is what is doing everything. Kripa katak avalokan kino das ka dukh bidaryo. But in its divine system of making the sun rise and making the birds fly and making all the ecosystem of man, in part of that, it also helped. With its grace, it got me out of trouble. Kirpa katok avlokan kino. That whole system looked upon me with its glance of mercy, and das ka dukh bidaryo. And this being has been rid of its dukh, its suffering. Now, jo mange Thakur apne te soiee deve. It's not ask and anyone shall receive. It is a statement about this particular enlightened being. This Shabad is about the enlightened person. Once the enlightened person has united with the divine, whatever the enlightened person says is no longer their words, it's the divine words. Whatever that enlightened person says doesn't come true. It is in line with the natural order. So it will only speak as being instructed by that divine. There, once remember the order here. Somebody has been saved, has been rescued, has been taken out of their problems. All their dukh has been removed. Why do we ask for things? We ask for things because we have dukh. I'm not happy right now, so can you give me this? And then I'll be slightly happier. That is what asking means. But this person is saying, all my dukh has been removed. Do you think they're asking for anything? They're not asking for anything. Whatever they say, however their words come out, is the divine words. Now you can take some interpretation. Some people would say that the Mahapurakh, the Brahmgyanis, that whatever bachan comes out of their mouth, that has to come true. I don't know about that. Maybe, maybe not. I don't deny it. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, just by analyzing the Shabad, you can see it's not ask and you shall receive. It's saying, now whatever this person asks for comes true. Because they're no longer asking for themselves. Nanak das mukh te jo bole, iha uha sach hoga. Nanak das, that person whatever comes out of their mouth is only the truth. Whatever comes out of that person is the truth. It's not ask and you shall receive, because the next line very clearly says, Nanak, das mukte jo bole. What that person says comes true, not whatever you ask for. So look how you can misrepresent Gurbani by only focusing on one line, ask and you shall receive, ask and you shall receive. Then everybody thinks, oh good, now the Shabad is on, now's the time to ask. So Guruji, please, can I have a Mercedes? Right? Sorry? So that's not the time that you ask and you shall receive. That's not what the Shabad means. So Gurbani is easy when you actually just take a systematic approach and say, let's start from word number 1 and carry all the way down, and let's not misrepresent and move stuff as we should. We should really be going back to our Kirtanis and our parties and saying, sorry, can you sing the Shabad from Har Jan Rakhe Gur Govind? That's the Rahao line. We need to put pressure, otherwise, why are we allowing these systems to continue? We all know it's not correct. We all know the parties singing are not singing the right Kirtan. But we're all also too shy to hold back. We don't have to do it aggressively. We don't have to do it in a violent way. But we do need to say, the Shabad that you're singing is actually here, the Rahao line. You know what answer they'll give you? They'll tell you, oh, the Sangat don't like it. The Sangat want to hear these things. No. We are the Sangat. We're telling you, stop singing Gurbani wrong. The question is, if the translations have a Judeo-Christian interpretation, how do we resolve that? I'm going to say that even the people who've never read any Gurbani in English and have only read Gurbani in its original language still have a Judeo-Christian understanding, because they're still pointing up when they're talking about Paramatma. So your question is, how do we address that? On a superficial level, I would say that the way to address it is to learn Gurbani and read Gurbani in its original language. But that doesn't solve the problem. The way to solve the problem is to start learning Sikhi by learning the historic spiritual traditions that predated Sikhi. And that's where I'm going to say something that most people will find controversial. I say you must study Hinduism. You must study the Veds. You must study the Upanishads. You must read the Bhagavad Gita. You must understand that way of thinking, out of which where Gurbani was written by the people who understood that way of thinking. The language that the Guru uses are those languages, not the Judeo-Christian languages, not there is one God and there is a heaven and there is a hell and He is the Father and all those sorts of way of thinking. That's the Judeo-Christian way of thinking that we've now inherited because we don't study any of the ancient wisdom traditions. We say, only read Guru Granth Sahib, don't read anything else. I personally disagree with that way of thinking. I've benefited massively from reading Ashtavakra Gita, from reading about Advaita Vedanta, from reading Swami Shankaracharya, from reading about the Bhagavad Gita. My understanding of Gurbani has gone through the roof when I understood some of these things. And I'm not saying I'm an expert on any of these things. But the amount of Bani that you understand from understanding the Vedic traditions is very important. And all of our traditions were studying all of these books. If you look at Damdami Taksal, they'll say that before you pick up Guru Granth Sahib Ji, there are 9 other Granths that you must read first. And these are some of these other traditions. Most of our Sampradayic traditions tell you that you have to read these things. The Nirmalas, the Udasis, they were all originally reading other traditions and understanding Bani from those traditions. I think it's only the Singh Sabha mentality that actually got rid of all of that stuff. And this is where it becomes quite difficult because most people are not necessarily willing to have these conversations. Most people are not willing to understand that the Singh Sabha tradition is a Judeo-Christian tradition, is a British-inspired tradition. Not to say that everything that they did was wrong, but the way of getting rid of all of the old ancient knowledge means you get rid of the old ancient way of interpreting Gurbani. And a lot of what now I'm going to say something else, and this is where I can get in trouble. A lot of what Gurbani says has also been said in some of these ancient traditions. People don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that these things actually have similarity. But only when you go and read a lot of these other traditions, you'll see a lot of Gurbani is in there. It's not to say that Gurbani doesn't have anything unique. Gurbani does have a lot of unique things as well. Your question was, how do you break Judeo-Christian thinking? You need to study non-Judeo-Christian spirituality in order to understand what context Gurbani is talking about. Firstly, read Gurbani in its original language. Secondly, read some of the older traditions that were out there. Some of them are very complementary to Gurbani, some of them are not. But understand all of them in order to understand non-Judeo-Christian spirituality, which is what Gurbani is.